This video is going to be my reaction to the Ravens' 28-14 win over the Pittsburgh Steelers in Baltimore in the AFC wildcard round. Once again, the run game was a tremendous factor for Todd Monken's offense. Controlling the ball, not turning it over, that was huge. They put up 299 yards rushing. I think the Steelers' tactical choices were kind of predictable in terms of the option. They wanted to force Lamar Jackson to keep it. Whatever the rationale was, it didn't work. If you were trying to prevent Derrick Henry from scorching your defense once again, that's not the way it worked out. In fact, he was able to produce 2 touchdowns and more rushing yards than during the Week 16 win at home. There's 2 plays in this game that I think are the big difference. The Steelers had a surge in the third quarter. They got within 21-7 and then 28-14. 2 particular plays made by both of our superstars. One, Lamar Jackson's touchdown pass to Justice Hill, end of the second quarter, the second to last snap of the second quarter, I believe. There's 11 seconds left when the ball is snapped. We're out of timeouts. I thought for sure we were going to get a sprint out concept, something where Lamar could move to one side or the other, and he could just throw the ball out of bounds if nothing was there. As it stands, the Steelers bring 5, and Patrick Queen just loses Justice Hill, loses eye discipline, in my opinion, and Lamar is able to find him, kind of wiggle around in the pocket a little bit, and then find Justice Hill wide open. That was a huge moment. And the other one was Derrick Henry's 45-yard touchdown run in the third quarter. The Steelers had zipped downfield on their first possession. 3 consecutive third down conversions from Russell Wilson. Against man coverage, I think, in each case. And then Henry's 45-yard touchdown, which I'll cover a little bit more detail here a little bit later. There was just such an obvious focus on running the football against the Steelers' defense tonight by Todd Monken. I think one of our drives technically had 13 run plays. One of them was a scramble from Lamar that was a drop-back pass, not a quarterback draw. The reality is they couldn't stop us running in the last 2 games, in fact. But tonight, we ran the ball 50 times for 6 yards per carry, and that includes 2 situations in the second half where the Steelers were able to get stops defensively as they closed to 21-7 and 28-14. Like I said, Lamar and Derrick Henry, that combination in the backfield is truly remarkable, to have essentially the 2 best players on the field in the backfield together at the same time. This game ended up being somewhat different than some of the others recently, particularly the last 4 since Todd Monken has been the offensive coordinator here in Baltimore. The 2 games in the regular season in 2023 and the 2 regular season games this season. Here's why. Because this one ended up 9 possessions each. And we were absolutely dominant in the first half. Like I said, 21-0 lead. At the time, we had 300 yards of offense, actually specifically 308 yards on only 4 possessions. It's pretty clear that Todd Monken came in with a game plan that said, hey, no matter what choices you make on defense, against the option that is, they're going to be the wrong ones. And the run game, bore that out, specifically the option concepts. We ran for 220 in the Week 16 win, 34-17 at home. And that was on 5.8 yards per rush. Well, tonight, Henry put up 186 and 2 touchdowns, 299 overall between Henry, Lamar, and Justice Hill. Have to give credit to the offensive line for the job they did. They really brutalized the Steelers' defense in these last 2 meetings. Henry, if I did my math right, has 348 yards in the last 2 games against the Steelers in Baltimore. Just controlled their defense for large stretches. As I said earlier, that 45-yard touchdown run in the third quarter is a clear separator between what could have been a very ominous and challenging second-half situation and one that, as it turned out, offered us as fans a little bit of mental space to enjoy the game since we did maintain a 14-point lead. We're talking about on the 6th possession, the Ravens' second of the third quarter. In fact, we had got stopped on our first possession of the third quarter. We took over with a little more than 8 minutes left in the third quarter. This is after Russell Wilson's third down touchdown pass to Von Jefferson that closed their deficit to 21-7. There's some brilliant play calling here on this drive and execution by Lamar. Look, we took a sack to create a 2nd and 20. And on the very next play, Lamar's put in a semi-roll. Now, there's a lot of different names that people throw out for it. One of it's dash. But in any case, Lamar's moving out to the right. Henry's in the backfield, I believe. And Ricard is edge blocking, on T.J. Watt. So he's basically pinning down on Watt in a manner that allows Lamar to get out to the edge. And Derrick Henry's there as a possible assistant helper on that scheme. And Lamar finds Tylan Wallace along the right sideline, wide open. And Wallace powers for a huge conversion. The Steelers, 2 guys tried to strip him. That got us a new set of downs. And the next two play calls, I think, are just spectacular from Todd Monken. It's after Tylan Wallace's 21-yard gain that converts the 2nd and 20. We have a 1st and 10 from our own 41. Monken calls a jet sweep, and he calls it to Steven Sims. I don't think the Steelers or anyone, myself included, would have predicted that. It's not a unique play call. It's just unique from the standpoint that we haven't actually given it on the jet a ton recently, and even throughout the course of the entire 2024 season, let alone to Steven Sims. Obviously, that would normally be Zay Flowers. Something to be said for that. It kind of reminds me of a 3rd down conversion against the Arizona Cardinals on the road in 2023 where Rashad Bateman took the sweep. It was out of the shotgun, but when it's an anomalous person or a different player executing that sweep path, perhaps the defense doesn't pay as much attention because they've never seen it given to that player. In any case, at this point, after the 15-yard gain to Sims, Pittsburgh's defense is totally pushed back, and then Henry essentially KOs them less than a minute later. Monken goes to 11 personnel, and he gets into one of my favorite formations. It's trips closed A. So trips is to the right, and the tight end and the running back are on the same side, which in this case is to the Ravens' offense's left. The Steelers actually do look like they're trying to force a keep read for Lamar like they had done much of the night. That's a very different strategy than they had shown in previous seasons, and we actually talked about that in the preview put out Saturday morning, that we anticipated some type of switching up of the manner in which the Steelers dealt with the option. Well, in this particular play, again, it's after the 15-yard jet sweep concept to Steven Sims. There's a long ride here. Why? Well, it's because Alex Highsmith, the read man, the outside linebacker to the boundary, he's crashing down, actually ends up inside of the C-gap, inside of Andrews. And Andrews, just well coached, takes him down, meaning takes him down out of the play. If Henry took the ball, which he did, and proceeded on his normal path, he would have run right into Highsmith. But because Andrews stayed on him, took him down, Henry jumps back outside of Highsmith. And actually, Lamar might have been trying to pull it because technically it is a keep read for Lamar. In any case, because they're trying to force a keep read, the inside linebacker to that side, 50, who played a nice game, by the way, I think he had 14 tackles, he's flowing over the top. Additional to that, up the middle, Linderbaum gets just enough of a piece of Queen to give Henry a lane. Again, you got a great job by Andrews. Henry, did he take it from Lamar? I don't know, but Linderbaum combos up to Queen. It's not exactly how you would draw it up on the whiteboard, but in any case, Henry's gone. And that 45-yard touchdown run put us up 28-7, gave us a little bit more breathing room when we needed it. Of course, Wilson did throw another touchdown, the one to Pickens. And look, he finished 20 of 29 in the game for 270 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was a little bit surprising to me, the continual 3rd down conversions by Russell Wilson on deep passes. I think that in the 3rd quarter, their offensive staff must have had some real keys or tendencies to our coverages, and they have Russell Wilson prepared for them. So give the Steelers credit. But we have to say this about our defense. First of all, we shut them down in the first half. Second of all, we held them out of the end zone twice after that second touchdown, the one to George Pickens up the right side of the field, up the right sideline. And one of them was on this really beautiful sequence in the 3rd quarter, to end the 3rd quarter, I should say. Look, Pickens beats Marlon Humphrey on a 3rd down slant. I think it's like a minute 40 left in the 3rd quarter. It's a 3rd down near midfield. He's in the left slot. Then on the ensuing play, 1st and 10, Wilson might have Jaylen Warren in the left flats open for a short gain, but Nnamdi Madubuike knocks the pass down. So that creates a 2nd and 10. That snap, Russell Wilson's looking for somewhere to go with the football. I suspect we switch to a zone, and he finds Warren over to the right side. Marlon Humphrey, quick tackle, only a 2-yard gain. The ensuing 3rd and 8, Van Noy gets immediate pressure on Russell Wilson, and then Madubuike just closes the show, folding outside to his right with a sack. I thought that Zach Orr had us in a cover 2 there that seemed to bother Wilson. And here's what I mean by that. When Wilson knew the coverage, like we were showing man and playing man on a couple of those conversions in the 3rd quarter, the Steelers' first possession of the 3rd quarter, I should say, he knew where to go with the ball. He went there quick. But when we switched things up to various zones, I thought he struggled. Now, the numbers don't exactly bear that statement out, I have to admit. You know, he's 20 of 29, pretty high level efficiency, 270 yards. The fourth quarter stop, the second in a row, was really fun and sick for a lot of reasons. Here's the first one. We turned the lights off in the fourth quarter, and we brought out Ray Lewis for the entrance to fire up the crowd. It doesn't get any better than that, obviously. Beautiful timing from the Ravens staff, the stadium, to get the lights off and force some type of change of momentum. Even though nothing happens there, the Steelers are about to possibly close to within one score, or they have an opportunity to, and we bring Ray Lewis out. Now, look, they did get a first down on a moon ball. And I do mean an extreme moon ball. This was Wilson's pass to Pickens up the left sideline, and it's extremely high up in the air. Maybe there's a slight push off on Pickens on this one as well, but he's very good at it. We have to admit he's very good at doing. He's got really long arms, so he doesn't have to fully extend his arms to get a push off there. And I think it turns into a judgment call. Personally, I wouldn't have called this one. But I would have had no problem if they did, because he, in effect, he did push off. But I don't think it met the standard or the definition of what a push off should be defined as, or should be called in a game. So that pushed the ball down to our 38-yard line. And at that point, we're up by 14. The Steelers have been throwing the ball on us, and they just completed a long one to Pickens. Oweh has a quarterback hit on the ensuing play, an incomplete pass on a 1st and 10. Then he just beats the right tackle clean for a sack. This was after a Steelers penalty, by the way, that made it a 2nd and 15. So Oweh's sack, an easy win against Broderick Jones, who I just don't think that their tackles, and we had 4 sacks tonight, I don't think their tackles do a great job in pass pro. A lot of things are hidden for them, but they did drop back in obvious passing situations tonight and actually give Russell Wilson time occasionally to be able to get the ball off, particularly in the third quarter. So that sack from Oweh makes it a 3rd and 22. Short completion to Von Jefferson versus zone. Really nice change-up on the 4th and 15. It's the play of the game, really, because we get the ball back. Unfortunately, our Darius Washington doesn't catch the interception. So it's a 4th and 15, and George Pickens is on our left. On the offense's left, the Ravens' right-hand side. We go into a 3-safety look. Now, I don't mean 3 safeties on the field. I mean actually 3 guys lined up at safety. So Humphrey is deep right for the defense. Hamilton is also kind of deep right. And then our Darius Washington has deep left, essentially from an alignment standpoint. I think Wilson sees Humphrey hedge over a little bit towards Pickens. And I mean, duh. Like, he's just thrown a moon ball to Pickens. They beat us down the right sideline for a touchdown against Wiggins and our Darius Washington earlier to close to 28-14. So thank you, Zach Orr, for finally rolling somebody over the top a little bit. And I think Wilson saw it, and this to me illustrates the limitations that he has, even though he was effective tonight. It's almost like he didn't have any expectation that Hamilton and our Darius would be there to react. We needed one stop, and in this case, on a 4th and 15, a little over 6 minutes left. Yes, it's a known passing situation, so that helps Zach Orr roll that third player over the top. We couldn't do that on 4th and 6 because, Wilson could scramble, or he could throw a slant to Pickens like he did earlier. But with Brandon Stevens up on Pickens as a typically aligned corner on this 4th and 15, I thought Humphrey's alignment and his reaction essentially was acting as if a half-field safety, and Wilson took the bait, in my opinion. Now, there is a little something to be said, and I will do it. I would have liked to have seen that against the Las Vegas Raiders on a 3rd and 17 when they're just outside our red zone. Or maybe they're just inside our red zone in week 2, I'm talking about. Yes, it's a red zone situation, but they need 17 yards for the quarterback to scramble. I'd like to see us do that a little bit. I should be positive here. We just want a playoff game. We're moving on. This is definitely an opportunity to be positive about our defense. That was a great adjustment for our defense, for Zach Orr. It allowed us to breathe a sigh of relief as fans, because Pittsburgh had just been on our side of the 50 to the 38, trying to make it a one-score game. And so that was critical in that we were able to get the ball back and, of course, retain possession to basically close it out. The turnovers, that's the largest piece of this tonight, other than controlling them with the run game and not – well, it's all related. We didn't have to risk anything with throwing the ball on 1st down or throwing the ball on 2nd and 8, because we weren't in 2nd and 8 a whole lot. Maybe 3 times on a 1st and 10 run concept, they stopped us for gains of less than 4 yards. I thought that look, I'm going to say this. I respect the Steelers. I know that most of our fans do as well. They're an AFC North opponent. We're destined to grapple with them for forever. They're worthy. But the reality is, against this version of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I said this after I lost to them in Week 11, if you don't turn the football over against this version of the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're going to beat them 8 out of 10 times. This Ravens team is going to beat them 8 out of 10 times. The Steelers rely on getting turnovers and the run game. And in this case, we were able to stop their run game completely, 11 carries for 29 yards total, and we were able to run the ball against them, and not just in a manner that controlled the game from a conservative standpoint. Because of Lamar's ability and Henry, we were able to punish them with basic option plays, whether it's zone, read option, counter plays. I didn't see a trap read tonight at all. I might have missed it. Feel free in the comment section to let me know if you recognized it at all. I didn't see it. On the topic of Lamar, I thought he was spectacular, even though he only threw for 175 yards. He's 16 of 21 passing. One of those incompletions was a spike. He had the 2 touchdowns. The one to Bateman that caps off our opening drive. Bateman beats Dante Jackson really badly in the back of the end zone. But the most important one was the touchdown to Justice Hill. I want to cover that here. Can't really show the film yet. I think it's notable because we're out of timeouts. I would have had no problem if we snapped the ball through a fade in the back corner to someone. Who that is at this point in time, I don't know. On our roster, we don't necessarily have someone that's a fade guy. Andrews would be the target, I think. And then we kick a field goal. I'd be comfortable with that. But we went for the whole biscuit, and we're out of timeouts with 11 seconds left. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe we did have a timeout. I think the Steelers had actually just called a timeout to get in the right look. We're up 14-0. If we take a sack or there's a holding penalty or Justice Hill's tackled short of the goal line, it's possible that we get nothing with, no timeouts remaining. We had just spiked it on the previous snap. That was Isaiah Likely's just violent stiff arm on Cam Sutton. For me, nothing really better than seeing that guy get destroyed by Likely. Anyway, Lamar's touchdown to Justice Hill. They bring 5-man pressure. Queen is on Justice Hill. Lamar slides once to the right and once to the left in the pocket, and then Queen kind of loses attention. Lamar notices it. You cannot leave him those opportunities. He's just too good. Lamar's too aware. And once the ball is snapped, he knows the coverage. He sees it. Okay, it's man. He's on Justice Hill. Why is Queen in my face? Boom. Instant reaction from Lamar. Like I said, even though he only threw for 175 on the night, that made it 21-0. Huge difference between 21-0 and even 17-0 because of the surge that Russell Wilson and their passing game had in the third quarter. Look at the half. I don't know about you. I was a little shocked. Did I think that we'd be able to run the ball on them? Yes. Did I think we would go for 200, 220, 230 again? I did not. I wouldn't have guessed that at all. Certainly wouldn't have guessed 299. Other than 3, I think, like I said earlier, 3 times where they stopped us on 1st and 10 runs. When I say stop, I mean, gains of 2 yards or less. When Lamar switched modes late second quarter, that was pretty notable to me. We have been in run first, run all, run the whole damn drive mode. Again, we had the 13-play drive in the second quarter, I believe. Well, really, one of them is a called pass play. Lamar ends up scrambling. But when Lamar needed to switch gears late second quarter, he did. That third touchdown drive, I think, was really impressive because, well, first of all, we had a 3rd and 2 with a little over a minute left in the second quarter, and the Steelers are calling timeout. It's 14-0, so they're trying to get the ball back, maybe get a field goal. They don't want to let us double up. Lamar hits Bateman for a slant, complete. Nice throw by Lamar. I think it's kind of low to give Bateman safety, but also put it out in front, let him get the ball. And we're kind of off and going. Like I said, we have been in run first mode so far, but Lamar's able to get the ball downfield, and 2 completions to Andrews here, as well as the stiff arm from Likely, the catch Likely against Sutton in man. One aspect of the game that surprised me a little bit was the Steelers betraying their offensive identity early. I'm going to talk about the first half for a little bit because I think it's so notable. We got a little conservative in the third quarter offensively, maybe, but you also have to credit the Steelers for making stops. Pittsburgh's first possession, first of all, they won the toss, and they took the ball. And I think they betrayed themselves. They came out in shotgun formations and threw the ball into the boundary the first 2 plays. Now, they did generate a first down, but the stark difference between what they normally do and what they did was very different. They did not appear to trust their game plan as much. Why? I don't know. Maybe they thought we would score on them. Maybe they knew we'd be able to run the ball in the option game. Maybe they recognized how unique our talent is with Lamar and Derrick Henry back there. But in any case, we then get the ball and just totally dominate them on the opening possession. Score on the 15-yard touchdown pass to Bateman. The Steelers' second possession, again, a betrayal of their identity, if you ask me. First play was a flea flicker. Now, Marlon Humphrey got in there and he nearly got a sack. Actually, he could have probably knocked the ball away, maybe. He was close to it. Pierce gets a sack after Wilson escapes Marlon Humphrey. So you've got shotgun passing formations on the first 2 plays of the game, and I think 3 of the first 4 for them, their first drive. And then their second possession, they start with a flea flicker. The moment I saw that, I'm not going to lie to you, I thought there is something different about their approach. Maybe they think they need more points. Maybe they're trying to take the crowd out of the game, get some momentum going early. I thought they were impatient, and I thought their players on the field were less disciplined than they are often given credit for. The Steelers are often given credit for being a very disciplined team, but tonight they actually had 7 penalties compared to our 3. So we stop them on their second possession, 3 and out, clean. And we eventually get on the board on our third possession again. Lamar makes the beautiful touchdown pass to Justice Hill, second to last play of the second quarter to put us up 21-0 at the half. The differential in yards gained is immense. 308 yards for the Ravens, only 59 yards for the Steelers, and a 19-2 differential in first downs. Derrick Henry and Lamar just gashing them. Lamar had, I think, 3 conversions on third down runs with option keepers. Henry had 100 yards on 13 carries to that point. His stretch on our second possession, maybe it was our third possession, my apologies. He had a 3-yard run, and we were going jumbo 23. So we were 2 running backs and 3 tight ends, and one of those tight ends was, I believe, Josh Jones, 74. Henry had a 3-yard run at a jumbo 23, and then a 17-yard run from the same exact formation. So it's like Todd Monken is showing them, hey, here we come. We got an extra offensive lineman on the field. We're going to come right at you. We go hurry up on the third play. Henry powers in for an 8-yard touchdown. I thought that was a statement, not only about our intentions, but about what we could do to them at certain points in time. Now, when Pittsburgh switched to a 6-2 look in the third quarter did they have success stopping or slowing down our running game? Absolutely. But let's reverse roles for a minute. Is there any situation whereby the Pittsburgh Steelers could line up in two running backs, 3 tight ends, or even 2 running backs and 2 tight ends and 1 receiver and just mash us, run right at us? No, it doesn't happen. If you look at the run production in the last 2 games that we've played against them, and in fact all throughout the season, occasionally they've had 8, 10-yard gains, but nothing like Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson were able to do to them tonight and in the Week 16 win at home as well. I think at the half, the Ravens had averaged 7.8 yards per play. Lamar was 13 of 15 passing, the 1 touchdown to Bateman. Also had 3 big completions, 2 to Andrews, 1 to Likely. And at that time, we had a 20-10, basically 2-1 time of possession advantage. When all things are said and done tonight, the third quarter, there was moments of doubt. I don't know what your thoughts were. There was a period of time where I was like, here they come. They're going to make it a game. Hayward came back in. That was a pretty cool moment, even though I'm not a Steelers fan. Watt was there to compete. He's clearly not 100%. So their defense stood up. I would have loved to have enjoyed a nice, comfortable 42-7 finish where Lamar and Henry are out of the game the entirety of the fourth quarter. We didn't get that. There's a couple ways to look at it. It has to be stated, Pittsburgh lost 5 in a row to end the year. They were 10-3 at one point, in control of the division. As I said earlier, I have a high level of respect for their organization, their coaches, players, but something seems off. And for us to not be able to finish them, I understand there are those that are going to be critical. and maybe pessimistic, hey, we couldn't blow out this Steelers team. They had been giving up 26 points per game since our loss to them in Week 11. We did drop 28 on them tonight. It could have been more. We had the ball to finish the game in their red zone, or just outside the red zone, I guess I should say. I do think we maybe let off the gas a little bit in the third quarter. I can't prove that. The Jumbo 23 stuff, or wing eye closed, like I'll call it. So Ricard and Henry are on the field, along with 3 tight ends. We're basically telling them what's up, and there was time period tonight where they just couldn't stop it. I wonder what the Steelers' offseason is going to be like. They've got a lot to consider. First of all, will Arthur Smith even stay? They certainly don't want to pay Russell Wilson anything more than the $1 million they signed him for this year. I believe Justin Fields is a UFA, but I could be wrong. It sounds like on the defensive side, they've had real communication or teamwork issues. 3 different times I've heard Steelers players say, in recent weeks, last month or so, we got 10 guys on the same page and 1 who wasn't. Don't know who that is. Have no idea. But I don't think that's just directed at players. When players say that, I think they're also directing it at coaches. Like, hey, how come you're not making sure that all 11 guys are in sync? Speaking of in sync on defense, our defense certainly was to start the game. Held the Steelers to less than 60 yards of offense through 30 minutes. I get it, the third quarter stunk. We weren't, in our Ravens Discord, we were not happy at that point that Russell Wilson was able to get so much going. But overall tonight, at the end of the night, Pittsburgh finished with 280 yards of offense. So in 3 games against the Steelers this year, here's what Zach Orr's defense has allowed. 303 yards in Week 11, the 18-16 loss. 315 yards in Week 16, the 34-17 win. And then 280 yards tonight. Pittsburgh's got recalibrating to do, in my opinion. Meanwhile, we get to move on to either Buffalo on the road or the Texans at the home, pending the game tomorrow. Something to think about with our offense, with our defense is this. Yes, the Steelers have been held to less than 300 yards 3 times in their losing streak. 2 of those games against us. But the high point there, they had 364 yards in their Week 17 loss against the Chiefs, which we would all hold their defense in high regard. Pittsburgh ran for 202 in that game. Tonight, we shut them down completely. Even though the third quarter was difficult to stomach and provided for moments that made things, at that moment in time, I don't know about you, I'm thinking, okay, how do they get to where they can beat us, where they can come back and win this game? And at the time that the fourth quarter starts, even though the Steelers have the ball, I said to the guys in our Discord, I said, I think we need 3 points and 2 stops, or 7 points and 1 stop, and then we win the game at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Previous to Ray walking out on the field, them turning the lights off, and then our defense getting a stop. We totally shut down Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. They're a non-factor. Again, they ran for 202 yards against the Chiefs in Week 17. They didn't get a whole lot done against the Bengals in Week 18, lost that game 19-17. For us to hold them to 29 yards on 11 carries, when we know that's what they want to do, I think there's evidence of total physical domination of this game for 80 to 85% of the game. Maybe that's a high percent. Maybe it's 75%. But let me give you a couple of examples. Derrick Henry had 2 insane stiff arms tonight. One of them on Minkah Fitzpatrick. That's not just a regular dude. That's one of their defensive superstars, and Derrick Henry put him on the ground. Likely's brutal swat on Cam Sutton was even more impressive. It was so violent, in fact, when Sutton hit the ground, my first thought was, I hope that's Cam Sutton. My second thought was, I wonder if they should check him, like if they're going to pull him out because his head hit the ground so violently. For the way that we dominated the game, to get 4 sacks. I think Matabike has 2. Owe and Van Noy have 1. Owe and Pierce have 1. I think this is a win for the ages. Yes, I recognize that we're the more talented team. But it's still going to be challenging. Every time these teams play, particularly in the playoffs, despite a totally one-sided first half, it did end up being interesting from a competitive balance standpoint. Lamar, the run game, too much. We've now won 5 games in a row. I think the tactical choices that were made tonight were spectacular for the most part. going 23 personnel at certain moments, in fact, jumbo 23 at certain moments, really just showed the Steelers, we're here to physically beat you. And we did it. Henry ran for 186. We nearly got to 300 overall. Physically dominating game. Are we going to be able to do that next week on the road against the Bills? Or even at home against the Texans? I don't know, but we should enjoy this one. We should enjoy the manner in which it was accomplished. A controlling run game that had highlights. Lamar converting on some third downs. Derrick Henry's 45-yard touchdown run. Not even to mention his 8-yard touchdown run in the first half. For me personally, fun game to just think about and then look forward to rewatching and producing videos for you guys this week. I thought the defense had things in control. I'll be honest with you. The third quarter did surprise me a little bit, so I'm interested in what I won't be able to know what the Steelers were able to recognize, what Russell Wilson was looking at, how quickly he was getting rid of the ball in terms of his reads, especially on those third downs. The touchdown to Von Jefferson up the left hash. I think Kyle Hamilton is cheating to the trip side, but sometimes your trips coverage requires the backside safety to deal with 3. So there's a lot going on there on some of those plays. I can't wait to get a look at the All-22 film. You guys let me know if you're as excited about this win as I am. Certainly, the AFC divisional round is not our goal. It's to get to the AFC Championship game, win it against the Kansas City Chiefs, and then go win the Super Bowl thereafter. I appreciate you guys' time. Forgive me for my voice not holding up. Been a little bit under the weather today. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this commentary and reaction to the Ravens' 28-14 win over the Steelers, knocking the Steelers out of the playoffs, putting them in a perilous position for the offseason from a quarterback standpoint, from an offensive scheme standpoint, and now moving us onward in the playoffs, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.